Welcome into another Sports Lab Overtime. I'm Charlie Jones. He is James McDonald. Happy to be talking some Gators sports here with you. First time on Sports Lab Overtime for both of us. And what a time it is to be a whole lot happening in the world of sports. James, happy to be here with you.
Charlie, you too. Let's have a day, man.
Now, let's start with Jon Sumrall stuff. He had his first public press conference as the head coach of the Gators, aside from, his opening statement where he's just laying down the law of the land. Now we have a little bit of a clearer picture with this roster. We have a little bit more of a clearer picture with what his motivation is here at Florida. You were actually there. Tell us a little bit about your experiences.
Yeah, so Coach Jon Sumrall actually spoke at the Heavener Football Complex on National Signing Day, which was this past Wednesday, around 11 in the morning. He talked for 42 minutes, Charlie, which is probably one of the longest press conferences he's given in a while. But the one thing he started it off with was, sure, it was National Signing Day, but the way that he phrased it is that it was roster finalization day, because the way that college football is nowadays, all these additions to your roster, transfer portal, and signees aren't. It's just not what it used to be. It didn't used to be the whole, when Tim Tebow signed and he's got school and he's got a million cameras and ESPN there, and it goes, Tim, here. Florida didn't have any of that. All of their signings were mid-season. Florida added 20 guys from high school. You have freshmen coming in, and they added 30 players in the transfer portal for a total of 50 new guys. The main one of those guys would be Aaron Philo, who followed Buster Faulkner over from Georgia Tech, quarterback. Eric Singleton Jr., big one from Auburn. He, I think, was the 30th overall player in the portal. Florida has a top 12 portal class behind UCLA, Texas, Notre Dame. Compared to the other SEC teams, they're 12th, Texas is 10th, Arkansas is 8th, and LSU's 4th with Texas A&M at 3rd. But, yeah, Jon Sumrall has had a very busy offseason since he signed on the first day of December, Charlie.
And you know what really sticks out to me with some of the guys that he gets in the portal? First of all, you get Eric Singleton Jr. from Auburn. That's a proven SEC wide receiver right there. And then you get some of the guys that Buster Faulkner knows. That's a massive part of this, right? Within the last regime of Florida football, there wasn't really a hierarchy. There wasn't really a focus on, no offensive coordinator. How can the offensive coordinator bring in guys that he knows, guys that he wants? Yeah. So now with Faulkner at the helm, bringing in Philo, bringing in Bailey Stockton, bringing in these guys that he's used to could be major for this program. And I really think targeting the transfer portal just as much as you transfer high school recruiting, that seems to be the proven method now for me. I really like the additions that they made already in the high school sphere. I'm a big fan of Will Griffin. I know he's going to have to wait his time out with Trammell and Aaron Philo now, and that quarterback battle ongoing already, so Griffin will have to take a step back. But I think he's a really intriguing prospect, and targeting the guys within Florida, trying to beat out some of these other Florida schools in the high school sphere, they've done a really nice job of that. Mixed with these portal additions, there's really a lot to be excited about. I mean, when can August come? I'm chomping at the bit to get Gators football, and Jon Sumrall was too.
Yeah, I mean, spring practice will start first week of March. The spring game they announced, I think, was April 11th at noon, and the orange and blue game. Florida fans have a lot to look forward to this season. In Jon Sumrall's press conference the other day, he spoke about a couple of those other guys that followed Faulkner over, which, going back to Faulkner, yeah, we finally have a play caller. Florida's finally got a play caller. The days of Billy Napier not wanting to give him up are gone. But, yeah, Bailey. So the one guy he talked about, I had a chance to ask him, what guys have really stood out to you in these first 2 weeks of workouts? And one guy he said was actually a former Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket, Bailey Stockton. He said he's a total competitor. He's just an absolute dog. And Bailey Stockton, guy who's had caught passes from Philo before. He knows Faulkner's offense. Another guy they brought in was Harrison Moore, who's now going to be the center, snapping to either Philo or Trammell Jones, or who knows, even maybe Will Griffin. Faulkner also said it's all about competition. He told Philo before he decided to transfer over, hey, nothing's guaranteed. If you want to come here, go ahead. And then Philo still decided to follow him over, which I think is a testament to Philo as who he wants to play for and a quarterback, and Faulkner as an offensive coordinator to bring one of his guys over by telling him, hey, nothing's guaranteed, But if you want to come play for me, I would glad to have you.
It seems like in the little bit of time that we've gotten to know Jon Sumrall as the head coach of Florida, there's a lot more of a mentality of fight for it, right? You got to earn it. He talked about earning the logo, earning the badge at the halftime of the Auburn-Florida basketball game in his first public appearance
Which means
to the
you
crowd.
had commentated.
Yeah, we got the chance to be on the call for the Orange and Blue Sports Network, and I mean, when he came out to center court, it was a absolutely electric crowd, and he had a determination in his eye that I really admired, and he spoke a lot about how the focus is to play for the name on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back. You're playing for the patch, and you have to earn it and fight for it. And you mentioned with Aaron Philo, right? Coming to Florida, nothing's guaranteed. You got to fight for it. You got to earn it. Now, that mentality is carrying over to the team. But he's talked a lot about this earning the badge mentality, earning the logo, earning the right to be a Florida Gator, not a ton into what that actually means. And I think it comes to a point where you can say that a ton. And I still love it. I think it's a great mantra to carry into this season, especially when, you have those higher expectations last season and you don't fulfill them. You have to earn it. You have to earn back the trust of everyone, the national media, the fans, everyone, and show that the Florida Gators still have the pedigree that everyone knows when it comes to Gators football. But he hasn't really gone into detail of what that plan could be to actually earn the badge and what it means to, earn the right to be a Florida Gator.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier. It was, he's always talking about, you gotta earn the logo, earn the logo. And then somebody asked him, well, Coach Sumrall, what do they have to do to earn the logo? And Sumrall's response was, well, frankly, I don't really know yet. So, but granted, he's only been with this team for a month. He doesn't really. He said in his press conference on Wednesday, he doesn't know exactly what we have. He likes where we're at in a lot of spots. He doesn't know where we're at in a lot of spots. So he can't fully assess where we are. I think his direct quote was, I have it right here. I'll find it in a minute.
Yeah, pretty hard to sift through that 42-minute press conference.
Yeah.
I mean, that was we now know he really likes to talk. He gets very passionate about football.
He said, I like where we're at in a lot of ways. I don't know where we're really at in a lot of ways too. I'm not fully comfortable assessing our roster because I've only been with them for a month-ish. So, sure, we brought in 50 new guys. Some have been here for a month, and some of those guys that he was meeting, he was also coaching a college football playoff team in Tulane. So he's half paying attention to Tulane, half paying attention to Florida, all at the same time. Meanwhile, he's also trying to recruit for both schools at the time. He said, I was overseeing a Tulane recruiting class, and I'm also trying to oversee a Florida recruiting class. So he also said in his he spoke at halftime of that Auburn game for about 8 to 10 minutes to some of the media, and one of the points he said in that was, he told his wife after as upset as he was to lose with Tulane, he was glad that he could focus on one job now, and that being here in Gainesville with Florida. But yeah, Jon Sumrall he's got a pizzazz to him that Gators fans should be really excited about. One of the things that him, Faulkner, and Brad White, the new defensive coordinator we brought in, because the three of them spoke at the press conference on yesterday, but it will be on Wednesday, was the culture that Florida is trying to bring in now.
Mm-hmm.
When Napier was here, it was always, talk about, the players. But Sumrall and these other coaches, they're talking about the culture of Florida as a whole, the whole program, what they're doing in the facility. Sumrall shouted out, like I said earlier, with overseeing the signing class, because obviously, Wednesday was National Signing Day. He said without Gator Made and the people here at Florida wouldn't have had a signing class. So he shouted out all of those people. So it's not just the roster and the coaching staff. It's the entire support staff here at Florida. And that's the culture that he's trying to build up and bring back to that 06, 07 when we were, back national champions and Florida was in their heyday.
Talking Florida football here on Sports Lab Overtime. Of course, you can catch the real deal, the Sports Lab show, every weekday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Twigs on Thursday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. But you can catch all of that on WRUF, Home of the Gators, on YouTube and Facebook, and catch our social media clips from the Sports Lab on WRUF 98.1 on Instagram. Now, you talked about the pizzazz and kind of the grit that he carries with him. He's definitely a football guy. You can tell that from all the media he's done so far, from Tulane, from now at Florida. But it seems like he's getting a little bit of scrutiny in the national media. Some people are calling him a bit corny with the stuff that he does. I don't necessarily perceive it that way. In college football, you're starting to lose some of this stuff when it comes to eligibility and focusing on how it's kind of becoming a professional sport at this point. I mean, soon enough we're going to get collective bargaining in the NCAA, and everyone's going to be, professional employees of a team.
Yeah.
That's what it's feeling like, at least. To have some type of tradition and build some type of culture kind of feels like a departure from all that, not industrialization of the sport, but really focus on the financials of it. It feels like, you need to maybe restore a little bit of faith in the team and in the sport. I am personally a fan of what Jon Sumrall is, but the national media hasn't really taken it the same way.
Yeah, I mean, so Sumrall, he said he's a fan. He's actually for the portal. A lot of SEC and college football coaches are all against it. Like, I want, there's this, I would pay to play all this money, whatever. But the way I think the culture that Florida's trying to build here, offensive line coach Phil Troutwine said this. He said that if you want to go play for the highest bidder, I don't want you to come to the University of Florida. I want guys that are going to come play football for our staff and our tradition and our fans, I want football guys. I don't want guys that just want to get paid. If you want to go get paid, go ahead. We're not going to throw you $10 million like Dements is getting at Miami to transfer from a prestigious university in Duke, where he won a ACC championship this year, to go play for Miami. I mean, sure, granted, yes, Miami made the national championship, but he doesn't want guys. He doesn't just want to throw he's not going to throw all these millions of dollars at guys just so that they could come here, collect a paycheck, and then win or lose, I don't care. I'm getting paid. These guys are guys that want to play football and win, specifically here in Gainesville for this Florida fan base.
And Sumrall's definitely bought into the players. You can tell that right off the bat. He's amped to be a Florida Gator, and he's amped for what he thinks that this team can do. You've really seen it in the public appearances, though. That's what I feel. I mean, obviously we were at that basketball game. The crowd was fully behind him and showing out to the line of the Rowdy Reptiles for the Gators basketball games.
The energy that he's
really got that energy. Yeah,
that energy that he brings. Like if you watch any of the basketball games where he's sitting next to Todd Golden on the sideline, and he's Todd Golden. If you haven't watched some of these games, if you watch Todd Golden on the sideline, Todd Golden is very animated on the sidelines, and Jon Sumrall sitting next to him is equally as animated. I can't wait to see what Jon Sumrall's doing on the sidelines on Saturdays in the Swamp. I mean, you should almost be afraid, who he's gonna, because
if he's helping Todd Golden coach basketball this way, you can only imagine what he's gonna be doing on Saturdays in the Swamp.
That energy that he brings. He's a former player, so he's so invested. Like he's the definition of a football guy. Football is his whole persona, and the energy that he just gets excited. Like we were at the I was at the media availability the other day. Just the energy that when he's talking, people ask him X's and O's, and he gets you see his eyes light up when he's ready to talk. Like, we got these guys. Like when I tried to ask him, like, what other guys have come in, he named probably like 10 to 12 players that have stood out to him, and they haven't even put on pads yet. So he's just like, he's like, I can't wait to see these guys put on pads. He's so excited for this upcoming season and what he could build here at Florida. And I've said it probably 4 times already in the show. Florida fans have a lot to be excited for this season as well. It's a totally new Gators team. It's a totally new Gators culture. And, we might be back 20 years. It might be 20 years ago, man. Party like it's 06, man.
Whole lot of excitement in Gainesville. James McDonald, Charlie Jones. And, there's a whole lot of excitement around another Gators team and Gators men's basketball. More on their matchup with Texas A&M on the other side of this break right here on Sports Lab Overtime.
We're back here on Sports Lab Overtime. I'm just McDonald alongside my man Charlie Jones, ladies and gentlemen. But Charlie, we just talked about Jon Sumrall for a good segment here and how this Gators football team and Gators fans have a lot to be excited about. Gators fans are already excited about is our reigning, defending national champion championship. Men, Charlie, we got a big game on Saturday, 8:30. The Gators take on Texas A&M for first place in the SEC game and remain in first place in the SEC.
Look, definitely a massive game, right? I mean, Texas A&M has come on late as one of the best teams in the SEC, and they've shown it all year. But with the way they're playing against some of these teams, they've been really impressive. Now, Wednesday night, let's take this for granted. They did not perform as well as I think they should have at Alabama. You lose that 197 contest, and they played well. They played their form of buckyball that they're known for, winning off of the three. But they ran into a team that also loves the three. And the big thing for Alabama going into that game was taking care of the basketball, and they did, and they won. So when it comes down to it, you got to look at Florida and say, hey, Alabama could do it. And that's a team you just beat, that you blew the doors off of it, and you played really well against. You saw Alex Condon get his licks. You saw Ruben Chinyele get his licks. You saw Thomas Houck get his licks. If you can do that against Alabama, and they had the keys to success, you got the film there, plus an extra week of rest. It seems to be favorable for Florida, but, I mean, you can't discredit what Texas A&M has done to this point, and you really can't overlook the fact that these two teams are on opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to shooting the three ball.
Yeah, Charlie, I fully agree with that. I actually saw a stat after the game that between the two teams, they attempted 79 three-pointers, A&M and Bama. That is the tied. Actually, I think it is the most in an SEC basketball game that did not go to overtime in the last 20 years. I forget the exact date.
Wow.
But it's 79 three-pointers in a non-overtime basketball. In 40 minutes of basketball, Bama put up 79 three-pointers. Whereas, like you said about the three-point shooting, Texas A&M, pretty good three-point shooting team. For the Gators, not so much. Charlie, what exactly are they going to have to do to overcome that hiccup and beat Texas A&M on the road? It's not this. We're not playing. They're not playing in the O-Dome. This is going to be a difficult game on the road. Texas A&M is 7-2 in the SEC. They only lost their second SEC game the other night to Alabama. What does Florida have to do to win this game?
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on in the fact that traveling to Texas A&M is never easy. It doesn't matter what sport it is. They have such a sports culture there that, I mean, heck, you could be going to a water polo game and you'll see the fans show out, and that can disrupt something. Florida, with a week of rest, though, is massive, right? No real health concerns with the team right now, but getting a chance to rest up and practice and know, look, it's only Texas A&M ahead. You don't have to look ahead to Texas A&M. They're next on the schedule. They're right up. That's a big factor, right? Texas A&M coming off a Wednesday contest, only a couple days to get ready for Florida. That makes it a little bit more dicey, but what's going to be crucial is, Texas A&M is going to shoot the three well. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. What you have to do if you want to win the game is you need to go back to your bread and butter that's been strong the entire season. You need to dominate the glass. You got 72 points in the paint against Bama. You crushed them in the rebounding battle. You need to do the exact same thing just on the road against Texas A&M. I mean, they're not very good at rebounding. I don't know if you've seen. They're 12th in offensive rebounding percentage and 14th in rebounding percentage overall. So that's something that's a category where any team in the SEC that Florida goes up against, that's going to be a strong suit for them, and especially with a weakness there for Texas A&M, they have to utilize that. If you can extend possessions and keep the ball out of their hands, they can't hoist 35 threes a game if your possessions are going 40 seconds every time because you're pulling down offensive rebounds. You're making sure that you're controlling the ball as much as you can. You're not giving it away. You're being very careful. They've done a much better job of that recently, right? That Alabama game, 2 turnovers in the entire game, and you force 19. Boogie Fland, 8 steals. 8 steals. You can replicate that. Maybe not to the extreme that you saw in the Alabama game. That was quite the anomaly. But you can hold yourself to only a couple turnovers. And if you can do that and you can really control the pace of this game against a team that really likes to push tempo, that's going to be massive. So you got to use the front court like you've always done this entire season, and you got 2 award winners on that front court. Alex Connon, SEC Player of the Week, Ruben Chinyelu, Naismith Player of the Week. The accolades keep racking up for this front court. If they can just keep doing what they've been doing since SEC play has started, yanking down boards, getting gritty, second chance points, getting the points up in the paint, that's a mismatch against Texas A&M.
Yeah, I think you hit that nail right on the head. I think Florida really has to control the ball. This is a Texas A&M team that's going to try to speed you up. They want to go fast. They force almost 9 steals a game, and they average 92 points a game. So they're going to try to run fast. They're going to try to get you to turn the ball over, get a lot of points in transition, and try to game on the road. But WRUF is your home for Gator sports, and this Saturday is jam-packed. Softball doubleheader and a battle for first place in SEC basketball. It all starts with softball versus Michigan at 12:10, and then softball versus Bethune-Cookman at 5:10, and that's followed up by Gators basketball at Texas A&M with first place on the line from College Station. WRUF, your home for Gator sports, 98.1 FM, 850 AM, 103.7 HD2, and the WRUF mobile app. Charlie, Saturday, 8:30. First place in the SEC. Who do you think is a bigger game for, Texas A&M or Florida?
It's a really good question because both teams have a lot on the line, right? First in the SEC at this point, as the season winds down and you're getting closer to the conference tournament, you're getting closer to the NCAA tournament, vying for the top seed in the SEC tournament is massive. Trying to be the regular season champion of the SEC, how much does it really matter when it comes to seeding? Not a ton. But for personal pride, for momentum, that's massive. Texas A&M coming off a loss, I personally would have rather had them off a win, which sounds a little bit crazy. I get it. But this team under Bucky McDonald has really, really come out with a vengeance after a loss, and they're not gonna take this loss, this 3-point loss to Alabama that they hung in with until the end. They're not gonna take that lightly. You're getting a vengeful team in their home stadium. This feels like a must-win for Texas A&M, especially if they want to make strides with seeding, right? I mean, right now, they're outside of the AP poll. Does that matter? No. I personally don't care about the AP poll. I don't know if you care about the AP poll.
AP poll only matters in March.
It does, yes, exactly. All that matters is what happens when we get to March Madness. What matters right now is, can Texas A&M notch a massive win against an SEC foe that has proven themselves this season after a rocky start? Florida has all the momentum right now. You got your wings clipped a little bit with the loss to Auburn, but you came back with a drubbing of South Carolina and that massive win over Alabama. You're riding as high as you could be right now. For Florida, yeah, getting to be first in the SEC is massive, and getting another crucial road SEC Quad 1 win is really important come tournament time. But for Texas A&M, there's just so much on the line because, to play devil's advocate, right, you lose this game at home to Florida, a ranked SEC team. That's back-to-back SEC losses. You start tumbling down the standings as we go along. That could get pretty ugly pretty quick. I believe, depending on which bracketology you look at, they're sitting as a 5 seed, a 6 seed right now. If you keep on losing these SEC games, especially one where you got a chance in your home stadium, you're going to keep on tumbling. And those SEC losses, they're going to rack up come tournament time. This one is really crucial for Texas A&M. Not to say that there's not stakes on the line for Florida. Just definitely important for Florida. But this is massive for Texas A&M, and they are coming in guns a-blazing.
Yeah, and like you said, that could have massive SEC tournament implications as well. That's the difference between a day or two off and playing on the first day of the tournament where, you then play through that whole stretch. And then, you got selection Sunday right after the SEC championship that day, and you go into the first round of the tournament. You kind of want to give yourself and your team that break. But like you said earlier, this Texas A&M team bounces back from losses. They lost 2 games at the beginning of the year, rattled off 5 straight after that, lost a game to SMU, came back and beat Jacksonville State by almost 45.
Wow.
And then after that Jacksonville game, rattled off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins, dropped one SEC, won 4 straight, and now they lost Alabama. So this is a team that Sure, they'll drop one and they'll come back and rattle 4 off right in front of you. And those after that Tennessee game was on the road at Texas, in-state rival, one of the biggest rivalries in the SEC. They beat South Carolina team by 23, excuse my math. And then they beat a good Georgia team on the road. So I think, this Texas A&M team has a lot going for them. I think this is a bigger game for Texas A&M than it is for Florida, just because of the fact that you'll have dropped 2 straight, the SEC tournament implications that might have, the NCAA March Madness tournament implications that might have. But we're going to go to a break here. So we're going to talk a little bit Super Bowl pre. I'm Jason McDonald. That's Charlie Jones. We'll be right back.
Back again like we never left on Sports Lab Overtime. I'm Charlie Jones. James McDonald on the other side of the desk. And the big game is here. I don't know about you, but going weekend without football, it kind of hurt my soul a little bit. You know, there's a void whenever football's not happening.
I mean, we had the Pro Bowl, but, like, come on. Like,
that's a whole nother discussion for a whole nother day that we'll have to talk about on another Sports Lab Overtime, because that's a whole nother situation of itself. But I always feel a void when there's no football. I'm sad that it's coming to an end, but at least it's coming to an end in a great way. Super Bowl 60 in San Francisco. Patriots, Seahawks rematch from about a decade or so ago when
2015?
Yeah, long before we were here at the University of Florida. And it's a massive matchup. The big game is here. James, how excited are you for this matchup between two teams who have faced each other a long time ago, but 2 new coaches at the helm?
Yeah, I mean, if you told me that Super Bowl 60 earlier, before this season started, was going to be the Seahawks against the Patriots, I would have been like, you are out of your mind.
Yeah, out of your mind.
Out of your mind. But these teams proved me wrong week in and week out. We got this Seahawks team. The Seahawks defense is one of, if not the best in the entire National Football League, as well as the Patriots defense. So I think these 2 defenses are going to just clash. And then you got Drake May, who was an MVP candidate at one point in the year, and you got Sam Darnold, the resurrection of Sam Darnold. He went from seeing ghosts in New York to leading the Seattle Seahawks to the Super Bowl. I mean, the storylines on this game are unreal. You've got Jackson Smith and Jigba, JSN, making his case for the best receiver in the National Football League, maybe. And then you've just got, if you look at the Patriots on paper, nobody really jumps out at you. I mean, like, sure, there's Stephon Diggs, but he's in his 11th year now, something near there.
Now don't let Kevin Winter hear you say that no one jumps out at you. But I mean, you're not a big Mac Hollins guy now.
But Mac Hollins doesn't jump out at you on. You're not looking at that wide receiver room and being like, oh, we're gonna have a tough. Nobody. Look, no. All right. Nobody's in the NFL is looking at Mac Hollins and be like, oh God, we're gonna have a day with him. But Mike Vrabel is probably looking at the Seahawks being, man, Christian Gonzalez is gonna might have a tough day with Jackson Smith and Jigba. So this is good. I think it's gonna be a really good matchup. Another thing, I don't think it's gonna be high scoring. I think the defenses are gonna step up. They're playing in San Francisco. They're not playing in a blizzard out in Foxborough or in Denver. There's gonna be the weather shouldn't have anything to do with this. This is just gonna be hard-nosed football on hard-nosed football, Charlie. And I'm very excited for this Sunday.
Yeah, definitely hard-nosed football. And I want to go back to something that you mentioned. You talked a little bit about Sam Darnold, and that's something that people are overlooking. Let's take a step back. Let's look at Sam Darnold's career. USC, drafted by the Jets, all ghosts, got mono. Takes a step back, ends up in Minnesota down the road. We'll skip, a bunch of years here, and we'll get to Minnesota. And by the time he's in Minnesota, the feeling, I would say, league-wide, and maybe even Sam Darnold would admit this himself, he's in a backup quarterback role. You look at the last season. They were primed and ready for J.J. McCarthy to be the starter in Minnesota before he got injured. Sam Darnold was ready to step into a backup role, and I think he was maybe thinking that was what his career was resigned to for the rest of it at that point. He has that incredible in Minnesota. After leading them to when people thought that they would completely fail and fall flat on their face, Sam Darnold proves everyone wrong, and the Vikings still let him walk. He goes to the Seahawks. People are still kind of doubting him. Well, then you realize, you think about it a little bit more. Well, if Geno could do it, Sam Darnold's probably better than Geno. I think Sam Darnold could maybe do it. And they come out, and I would probably say that they've looked like the most complete team throughout the entire season. Maybe not the best team at times. You could say the Rams, you could say whoever else. But definitely the most complete team. And the glue to all of that has been Sam Darnold. What a crazy, crazy career to get to this point, and what a moment. What a moment for the veteran quarterback.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think Minnesota telling him, hey, we just drafted this guy, J.J. McCarthy. We're going to stick with him. After the season that he had leading that Vikings team to 14 wins, I think that kind of lit a fire under his butt and was, he was like, all right, screw you guys. I'm going to go to Seattle, and I'm going to ball out. And that's exactly what he did this season. Like I said, he led the Seahawks to the Super Bowl. Sam Darnold, he's also – you got to remember, he went to USC. He's playing this in his home state. This Super Bowl's not – I'm not going to say home turf because obviously Southern Cal did not play at Levi Stadium. But, home state of California. He's gonna be playing in a state that he's familiar with and weather that he played in through all of college. And I really think he's going to have a great game. But like I said, I really don't think it's going to be high scoring because I think these two defenses are just so good at stopping the run, the air raid, and forcing third downs.
Yeah, no, definitely sizing up to be a defensive battle. And you look on the other side of it, right? Drake May has got his hands full. He's been outstanding the entire season. But in the playoffs, he hasn't necessarily looked as good as he did in the regular season. Now, obviously, everyone wants it more when you get to the playoffs, and everyone's playing their hardest. But it's kind of been a regression. And now, with a little bit of health problems, there were reports that maybe he had some shoulder issues. Mike Vrabel quickly shot that down, said he's very good to go, and he's throwing the best he's thrown all season. But with back-to-back performances against the Texans and the Broncos, where maybe he wasn't as much of a contributor through the air, what will Drake May have to do, and what does the matchup provide for him? Will he... I think really he needs some explosives on the ground, right? The only touchdown against the Broncos came with him on the ground. He ran for 65 yards in the game right behind Travion Henderson with 70. You can't really count him out on the ground, and if they want to win, he's got to do a lot more through the air than he did in the last two games.
Yeah, if New England wants to win the Super Bowl, it's going to completely fall on the shoulders of Drake May. The defense is going to hold their own. I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game, but if the Patriots want to win, it falls on the shoulders of Drake May. It also falls on the shoulders of the offensive line, giving him enough protection to either throw the ball downfield or give him enough time to scramble and then use his legs to run for 65 yards against a very good Denver defense. But I also think Travion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson are going to also play a big factor in this game if they want to win. New England's going to have to get the ball rolling on the ground to then open up the passing game, because I think Seattle's defense is just so good at rushing the quarterback and stopping the run that they haven't – they played against probably the MVP and Matt Stafford, not their last game to get to the Super Bowl, and they gave up 30 points, but I don't think they're coming remotely close to giving anything like that, which leads me into my one question for you, Charlie. What is your Super Bowl prediction?
Oh, man, it's tough. And you mentioned a lot about how the two defenses are really strong. I think the Seahawks are the more complete roster. I think they're the more complete team. I think they've played the best. But I would be pretty foolish to not count out the Patriots. Excuse me. I mean, it's Mike Vrabel. This is a guy who has Super Bowl pedigree. This is a guy who's won 3 Super Bowls. Has he been there as a coach? No, not yet. But what he's done in his first year in New England, bringing them back from 3 wins under Gerard Mayo, completely revamping the team and making them a contender like overnight, is incredibly impressive. And with that type of familiarity with the big game, facing a coach on the other side in Mike McDonald, who has never ever really reached it and had trouble reaching it with the Ravens, I think the coaching matchup is something that people aren't really looking at enough. Mike Vrabel, he's so savvy when it comes to the little things in the game that it's what he's able to do and how he controls the game as a coach and how he holds himself and the experience. It all adds up. It's all a massive thing. Do the Patriots have the better roster than the Seahawks? I think if you ask 10 people, 9 of them would say no. But I do think that they have the better coach. That's definitely a factor to realize. But when you look at all of it, I think the Seahawks are the better team. And at some point, you have to bite the bullet, and at some point, you're going to run into a team that is just a raging bull. And that's what the Seahawks are. They want to shoot out with the Rams. They've shown it all playoffs. They destroyed the 49ers with a team that, yeah, they were battered up. They were pretty bruised. But that's a good team. That's a good football team that they played. The Seahawks are just the better team at the end of the day. I don't want to count the Patriots out. I can't, because I'm going to look like a fool and when they win. Kevin Winter is gonna find me Monday, and he's going to go,
look out for him in here.
Sir, you were wrong. I got the Seahawks winning it. I agree with you. Defensive battle. Tell me your thoughts.
Kevin, I'm sorry. Seahawks by 90. No, I'm kidding.
By 90? Whoa!
No,
Kevin Winter just turned even more red than he normally is.
Yeah, got to look for him to bust the door down in the social media lab here in Florida. But no, I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. I think this is going to be I think Seattle's going to win. All right? I think Seattle's going to win. I think their defense is just better than New England. I don't think New England's offense is as good enough as the Seahawks offense to overcome the Seahawks defense. Whereas I think Seattle's offense, I don't think New England's defense is as good as Seattle's defense. Hence, I think Seattle's just going to end up putting more points on the board at the end of the day compared to New England. I'll tell you, my score prediction, I think it's going to be a 20-13 game. I think Seattle's going to win 20-13. You know, maybe 2 touchdowns and 2 field goals versus 1 touchdown and 2 field goals. That's kind of what I think this game's going to be. Just because, you know, sure, I think special teams is going to play a big factor in this game. I think the kick returns and where you start your offensive possessions is going to determine whether you put points on the board on that drive. Because I don't think these defenses are going to give many yards before they force a turnover or a punt or, you know, a long field goal. And I think it's going to, you know, I think the only touchdowns are going to be scored are going to be, you know, like how the Patriots scored against Denver.
Yeah.
They started that drive on the 15-yard line or whatever it was. And Drake May ended up scrambling for an 8-yard touchdown because they were gifted the ball in the red zone. I think like those are going to be where most of the points are scored are on either, you know, turnovers, whether that be a muffed punt or an interception return or a fumble return or, you know, say, you know, a shank punt out of bounds where suddenly New England or Seattle starting at their own 45. So I think it's going to be that type of game. I think it's going to be a gritty, hard-nosed football game. But I think it's going to be a classic. I think it's really going to be a rematch of that Seahawks-Patriots Super Bowl. And like you said, but I do agree. I think Mike Vrabel is the better coach, and he did make 3 Super Bowls and win 3 Super Bowls, but guess who's not there anymore? Tom Brady to lead you to those 3 Super Bowls. So
yeah.
I think Seattle's going to get it. What's your score prediction for this game, Charlie?
Tom Brady, by the way, didn't even pledge his support for the Patriots. Now that was mentioned on Sports Team with Steve Russell earlier that maybe he has obligations as an owner of the Raiders, and he's already in enough hot water with his broadcast stuff that maybe he can't really come out and support the Patriots. That's another thing. I agree with you, right? I think this is a game that the little plays are going to be the ones that matter the most, and I think this is going to be a close one. I'm around the same score as you. I think it's going to be a little bit closer. I got 24-20 Seattle.
Okay.
And I liked what you really mentioned in the fact that special teams could be a key. And what the Seahawks have done in creating their roster, especially at the trade deadline, you know who's going to make a difference in this game? Rashid Shaheed. You've seen him break off big returns. If you're saying special teams could be a big thing, how can you omit his name? He's been a factor for them, and he's been getting them scores out of nowhere, flipping the pace of a game, flipping the momentum completely. Maybe a return touchdown is what pushes the Seahawks over. Maybe that's that little thing that if the Patriots go into halftime leading and the Seahawks open the half with a return touchdown, maybe that's the momentum that flips everything. I have Seattle 24-20. Great coach in Mike Vrabel, but the roster is just too good for the Seahawks. Before we get out of here, MVP pick.
I said it earlier. I think it's got to be Matt Stafford. You can't, especially for his
for
age.
the Super Bowl.
Oh, for the Super Bowl. Oh,
but
well.
Hey, Matt Stafford, great season as well. If only he was in the Super Bowl. But Sam Darnold shut him down.
Yeah,
the defense shut him down.
Like I said, that Seattle defense, man, and that kind of leads me into. I really want to pick a defensive player for the Seahawks to be that Super Bowl MVP, but I just don't.
Would you like me to be nice to you? We're not the NFL. We're not the actual organization. If you want, go for it. Take the whole dang defense. Take the whole dang defense.
You know what? Yeah, I think Seattle's defense is really going to be the MVP in this game. I think they're going to mitigate Drake May and that passing attack and that run game for the Patriots to the point where, like I said, I think they're only going to score 13 points. I don't even know if that touchdown will be an offensive touchdown for New England. I think they're going to make 2 long field goals from probably 50-plus yards out because Seattle's defense isn't going to let them in the red zone. That's my pick.
It's a good pick. I like it. I am going K9. I think Kenneth Walker could have a day out of nowhere. I mean, it feels like he's due. Maybe now is the time. But we'll just have to wait and find out. You'll hear live reactions to the Super Bowl on Monday with the Sports Lab gang, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. on WRUF, home of the Gators. But make sure to listen to the big game right here on WRUF as a part of the Super Sunday schedule. Women's basketball to lead things off against Arkansas, looking for their second SEC win of the season. Then Gators softball, USF Rawlings Invitational right after. Then at 5 p.m., it's the big one in San Francisco. Patriots, Seahawks, Super Bowl 60, right here on WRUF, home of the Gators. That's been Sports Lab Overtime. He's James McDonald. I'm Charlie Jones. We're out of here and away. Good night.